Thanks for tuning in to the Joined Up Writing podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at JUPodcast and help us to improve the show by taking 30 seconds to leave a quick iTunes rating. Let's get joined up. Hello and welcome to the Joined Up Writing podcast, where a little procrastination goes a long way. I'm Wayne Kelly.
And I'm Leah Osborne.
And this is episode 22, and we're talking about bad reviews and how to deal with them. There might be bad reviews, there might be good reviews, but in general, it's just about how you deal with reader feedback. But before we get to that, how's your writing been going? What kind of week have you had, Leah?
I did my usual roundup on the blog, as I do, one for Raven, one for Leandra. And what's come out most from these updates is that I've not done as much as I wanted to do at all. The progress on the novel editing has stalled and I've done nothing. I haven't been sending out review requests. I think the one thing I managed to do was convert a big chunk of Sugar Dust to the template that I'm going to be using to self-publish the paperback. That's as much as I managed to do. Everything else just did not happen, and I really don't understand why, because I feel like I've done nothing but work. But that can't really be true.
So it's just been one of those weeks. Still, it sounds like you've been a bit hard on yourself, because it sounds like it's good that you got your formatting and stuff done on your book, and you're still moving forward.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
and I noticed that you got a letter in the writing magazine.
Do you know what? I'm so behind on the magazines. By the time I actually get to that one, there'll be a new one.
I started reading this little letter, and I thought, well, this sounds a bit like Leah's situation. Oh, it is Leah. Yeah, I spotted that. So well done. You keep getting in there. You're almost a columnist.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So that's really good. I have. Well, since we last spoke, I haven't done... Oh, no, I have. Tell a lie. I've done... It's only a small amount, but I've done a small amount of words on my crime novel. Novel. Well, see, I said novel there. That might be a Freudian slip, because I have started to feel like it could develop into something a bit longer. I don't know about a novel. Maybe a novella or a long short story. I've got some ideas of how to develop it, but
excellent.
I'm flying by the seat of my pants a little bit, because if I do that, I have got an idea for the short story, but I think it could develop a bit more, but we'll see. I managed to get a blog post out after a long hiatus.
Did see.
So moving on to today's topic then, bad reviews or dealing with reader feedback. There's something that's been doing the rounds recently on social media and different bits and pieces with a guy called, and we'll apologise to him. We better apologise to him, because given how he tends to react to bad press, he might get in trouble. But I'll do my best to pronounce his surname. His name's Dylan Saccoccio, I think it is.
You're doing a better job than me.
And he's the author of a book called The Boy and the Peddler of Death. And this guy was doing, to all intents and purposes, he was doing pretty well. He's got, he had his average star rating, I think, was 4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, 4.5.
Yeah, on this book, he was doing really, really well. And he had one slightly unfavourable. I say slightly unfavourable. It was a 1-star review, but it was justified with, a few sentences. I will read, because it's so short, I'll read the initial comment that started what then progressed into this great big thing, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the original review was, it says 1 star, and this was just so unnecessarily wordy and pretentious. I just did not enjoy it at all, which makes me sad, because the summary says it's for fans of Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, and World of Warcraft, aka 3 of my favourite things. So how did I loathe this so entirely from page 1? I don't know. So admittedly, it has got a bit of an edge. The word loathe is in there.
It's very strong, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I say very strong, but it's strong enough.
Wordy and pretentious. I suppose I could see how, that's going to hurt. Anybody that's saying bad things about your baby, your creative baby that you've put out into the world, is going to hurt. But then the guy just kind of went off on one, and the author himself, Dylan, and he did not take it very well at all. I'm just trying to see what his original...
Well, his response then, which I believe arrived maybe 3, perhaps 4 hours after Kate's initial review, was this. Sorry that my book evokes such a horrible response. May I ask how you discovered it? I am an indie author. I work over 100 hours a week to get my books to succeed so that I don't have to be a slave anymore. This review is not good for my business, so unless your desire is to ruin my dreams, it would mean a great deal if you could remove this review from my work and forget about it. But if it's your desire to hurt me financially and ruin my business, then it's understandable why you would post such a harmful review. I'm just curious as to how you discovered the book, as most of my sales are made through people I met on social media. Best, Dylan Saccoccio. Oh, I said it.
You said it there, because you won't think of it. Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so there you go. So he's obviously taken it personally. And again, you know, I could sort of forgive him if that was, you know, the only thing that he'd put. I think that it's probably not the best thing to do. But then it escalates further. Other readers and other reviewers got involved, and he, you know, rather than just not engaging with them, and he just kept escalating it and escalating and escalating when there's just no need to do that. He should have just let this one star review. It stood out because the rest of his reviews were pretty good. So he should have let the other reviews speak for themselves, but instead he took it really, really personally. And just thinking about some of the things from what you've just said. So he used phrases like, "You've ruined my dreams," "You've destroyed my business," "You'll destroy me financially," and all those kind of things. Well, the fact that it, you know, he said it himself, the fact that it is a business, the fact that he should be approaching it professionally as a business.
Yes.
Everything that he's doing there is everything that you shouldn't do. It's exactly the same for TripAdvisor or something. If you run a restaurant or something, you can't engage with, you know, terrible reviews. You should address things if they're factually inaccurate, or you can offer to put things right or whatever it is. Or, you know, you can say, okay, maybe that's something that I could look at. Just thank people, you know, thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, but you don't even have to mean it.
No. And if you can't say anything nice, then don't say anything at all. And so most people don't say anything. You just don't engage, you know. And what you tend to find anyway is if you've been doing really well and you've got a lot of good reviews, you'll often find that other reviewers will step in on your behalf anyway. If somebody's put a nasty review up, and they'll say, "Hey, you know, I don't think that's fair. I disagree," you know, and they'll defend you, and you don't even have to get involved.
Unfortunately, it works the other way too. And what happened to this chap, unfortunately, is he was so aggressive and abusive towards Kate, which is the name of this reviewer, that several other reviewers from the Goodreads community stepped in to defend her, which is part of the reason why the whole matter escalated so rapidly and so violently, because there is quite a tight-knit reviewing community and people look after each other. And when it seems like somebody's being attacked, then the defence rolls in, if you like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's kind of turned the reviewer into a victim, and he's made the book, and he's basically made that one bad review the story. That's become the narrative, unfortunately, and he's undone all the great work that he'd done before. So I know that you've had not a similar experience as in, you know, something that's kind of got out of hand of this, but you've been on the end of having, you know, a not so favourable review. Just tell us a little bit about that. I know you posted about it on your blog, and I will post a link to the blog on the show notes, but just tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, okay. It was a 1 star. I can't remember now. Hang on, let me just go find it. It was a 1 star review. No, it wasn't. It was a 2-star review, beg your pardon, on my very first release, by the way. Can I just shed a tear here? Vicky and Laura, which was a short story, which falls on the LGBT spectrum because it's 2 women, erotic short. And this, I laugh at it now because I still find it funny, and I guess that's just me as a person. But this review, she marked it 2 stars, and she said, well, I'm assuming too predictable, boring, and quite frankly, not enough meaning. Was more like porn for the high school kid looking a good jerk. And I can't even read it without laughing because I just find it funny. Yeah. So for this particular reader, not to her taste. Fair enough.
No, and that's the point. And the thing with it is, and I think some other reviewers made this point in the thread, in the Dylan Saccoccio thread. Mm-hmm. You can literally go and look on Goodreads at literary classics, you know, things that you would consider pretty much untouchable, you know, that you know, they're universally praised, and you will still find a load of 1-star reviews.
Oh God,
because for a number of reasons, partly because, you know, there's no accounting for taste anyway. Everybody's different, and it is a subjective thing. It's one of those things, and I get it. I get those kind of people. It's kind of, they're contrary, and it's like, well, everyone, it's kind of a universal thing, except you think everybody says that the Beatles are amazing and they're really, really influential, and I'm going to disagree because, you know, that's what everyone else is saying. And I get it. And maybe I'm not saying that they're doing it just because of that. They probably believe it, but like I say, it's an opinion. It's a subjective thing, and I'm of the same school of thought as you in terms of I will laugh if it's like when I get you know, that kind of feedback that just a lot of the time it doesn't even make sense. It's not constructive, you know. It's just it's what it is. Just take it on the chin and laugh it off, and take it, you know, in relation to all the other reviews or whatever you've got and how other people feel about it. And like you just said, that was your very, very first release anyway. And although the person's not probably put it across as best they could, they're not articulated it brilliantly, there might be things in there that you think, you know, especially now looking back after so many years experience, there probably are things in it that you look at and think, I'd probably do that differently, or I'd develop that more, or whatever, or I'd change this. So yeah, probably are things like that anyways. Then it might be a signpost that, you know, okay, maybe I need to look at that for the next book or the next thing that I write. Maybe that's something that I can develop, and you can use it as an opportunity to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's my strongest thought about reviews. If an author, any author, is going to look at reviews or pay any attention to reviews, they have to treat them as a learning tool. The reviews are not there as an ego stroke. They're not there to batter you. They are there for other readers. They're not for you. So if you're going to take the risk to read them, learn from them, because I think not only does the internet lend itself to people being perhaps a bit more venomous than they might be in person, but it also leads to actually quite raw honesty. And if that's what your readers are thinking, feeling, then it's worth paying attention to, because one, you've moved them enough to make a review in the first place, because it's quite hard to get people to leave reviews. You know, even if they've read the book and you've made it easy, they don't want to. It's just, you know, time out of their day they don't want to spend. So one, you've evoked a reaction, and two, you've evoked a strong enough reaction that they wanted to tell you about it and other people. So it must be worth paying attention to, even if just to say, oh, okay, they didn't like that bit, but that's one person. Or, oh, they liked that bit, maybe I should do this for another book, or follow the same sort of trend. You've got to learn from it. Otherwise, you're just going to upset yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And don't take yourself too seriously. Like you said, those reviews are for your readers. And the other thing to bear in mind as well is usually for somebody to take the time to leave a review or pass any kind of fill in a feedback form or anything, it usually means, as you said, they've got a strong feeling about it. Now that feeling could be strongly negative, but it also, and often is, you know, strongly positive. You get lots of 1-star reviews, and you also get lots of 5-star reviews. Yeah. You know, they tend to be more prominent than kind of just sitting in the middle, because if you just are kind of a bit meh about it, then, you know, a lot of people can't be bothered to write a review anyway. You know? If it's 2 or 3 stars, it's like, yeah, well, this book was okay, you know, and what else are you going to say about it? So people tend to go quite strong with it anyway. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on with Dylan now. I'm guessing, obviously, they're still writing and they've still got their work out there. But I'd be interested to know if they've kind of learned from it at all. But I mean, reading the thread, I mean, it does go on. I think it's for like 4 pages, and it's still being added to now.
Are you kidding? I'll tell you how many pages. 18 pages so far.
Oh, God. It was
Yeah.
4 when I looked at it. Jesus. Yeah, maybe he was just having a bad day and it's got out of hand. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But it did go on for some time. And all we're saying is that, you know, it is a perfect example of why you shouldn't go down that route when you get bad reviews. Or in any case, if you get bad critique in any case, even if it's in a critique group or whatever, if you get, critique that you really don't like or you don't agree with, don't take it personally. At least take some time to go away and digest it and think about it before you blow your top. If you're writing something good or you're producing something that's really good that people are going to care about, then it should be, there should be a certain proportion of people who are going to hate it. We just hope that they would realise that before they started reading it, though. But that's not always the case.
It's not always that easy, though, is it? I mean, I think the easiest example to quote right now is 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, there is a massive spectrum of opinion on the first book and the trilogy as a whole. There's, a very clear camp of, oh, this is amazing, it's the best thing I've ever read, wow. And that's the camp my sister is in, by the way. I can't even have a sensible conversation with her about it because I'm all the way at the other end, spitting venom and bile. And then there's all the people in between. But you can't deny that it's evoked a strong reaction in people. And as an author, as a writer, as somebody who produces something creative, can you ask for anything more than that? No, not really, You've
got a reaction. At least you've made something that kind of generates some kind of reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so before we round up for the week, we just wanted to introduce a new feature, which is News Bits.
You have to say it like that. News Bits.
It might not be called that by the time we get to the second News Bits. We might have thought of something else, but as soon as we're just making this up as we go along. News Bits. Here's a bit of news. No, this is for any kind of little bits of breaking writing news that we've spotted, and something that did kind of break just before we were recording this episode, which by the time you hear this episode will have been at least a week old, but was the new Amazon's new KDP per page payments that's coming in for the lending library. And it's already caused a bit of a stir. It was only, as I'm talking about this, it had only been sort of brought out a couple of days ago, mooted, and they talked about how it's going to change. And just to kind of give an overview, it's changing rather than how it was before. If somebody lent, if they borrowed your book, then you basically just got paid for them hiring out that book. So the only thing with it was, I think that from Amazon's point of view, lots of people were splitting some of their longer books up into lots of shorter versions for the lending library, so that whereas there might be, and it might just be like one long novel, they might break that into 4 or 5 shorter books on the basis that that would then count as 5 books that they would then get a certain amount of money for from Amazon. And Amazon thought, people were playing the system. So they've now introduced a by page way of doing it. And there's loads of ins and outs, and they've kind of got a standard page length and all this kind of thing. You can read about it. Again, I will put it in the show notes. But, well, first of all, let's just get your quick take on it I know you're a KDP author. So what's kind of your initial thoughts about it?
My initial thought originally was, I don't care, because I had enough books spread across Amazon and Smashwords that I wasn't taking advantage of Kindle Unlimited anyway, so I didn't actually get the benefit of all those things. And then I realised that was just as Raven. If I look at my releases as Iliandra, I've only released Silk Over Razor Blades through Amazon, so I am taking advantage of the library and of Kindle Select and all the other bits and pieces that they kind of put out there to convince you to distribute just through them. And the idea that you could be paid for someone borrowing your book is wonderful. The idea that you would be paid for someone borrowing your book, but not if they don't read it, is a little bit sucky, but I can understand why they've done it. I would prefer, okay, if I didn't have to worry about money in any form, I would prefer to be paid for someone reading my book, because that's another potential fan, if you like, someone I can engage with, someone who might want another book, someone who might join my mailing list, those sorts of things. But from the standpoint of poor author who has no money and needs to make a little bit of moolah, it would be nice to be paid for the borrowing in the first place. So I'm a bit on the fence about it, really, because at the moment it hasn't made much difference for me.
Yeah, well, one of the things is saying you'd probably find that if it not having a massive impact before, then it probably won't have a massive impact now. But potentially, you could work out better off if people are reading your books, if they're borrowing them and they are actually reading them, and you're writing novels. Mm-hmm. People that write a long novel will actually be better off if people are reading the whole thing. Yes. So I think it swings around. I think it's probably too early to say. It's definitely already upset lots of people. So, but I will post a link to this particular post, and people can have a look. But we'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it anyway, and you can tell us about that. And you can do that at JU Podcast on Twitter, or you can do it on the web at Joined Up Writing Podcast. We're also on Facebook. Myself and Leah are on Twitter. I'm at Mr. Kelly to you, and Leah, you are.
I am Iliandra X Raven.
So you can find us on there, and we really, really want to hear your feedback. We've been getting, the listenership is really, really growing, and it's great. People are starting to share the show more, and we just wanted to get more joined up and get more connected with people. We've got loads of great things planned, including upcoming
news bits.
We've got news bits. We've also got TMTs, which are 2-minute tips, which are going to be released. You might have even already had one released by the time that this goes out. And again, we just want your feedback on this. We'll keep looking for new things, and we're going to have more different little features. We're going to try and break the show up into little bits and pieces, and we're going to try that. But we're open to your feedback, and we want to hear more. So keep sharing, keep giving us your feedback, and some iTunes reviews would be absolutely marvelous. But in terms of today's show, talking about receiving feedback, good or bad, the kind of gist of it is do not engage, especially if you haven't got anything nice to say. It's not going to get you any further. Just forget it, swallow it down, take it on the chin, and just keep moving forward with your writing. It's not worth worrying about. Let your writing do the talking, and just keep moving forward. That's the best way to be with it. Just laugh it off and be positive, like Leah said. So on that positive note, thanks for listening to the Joined Up Writing Podcast. Let's get joined up. I'm Wayne Kelly.
And I'm Leah Osborne.
Happy writing, and see you next time.
Bye, folks.
Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, follow on Twitter at JU Podcast, and go to joinedupwriting.co.uk. Let's get joined up.